Some people have said in their areas they're still waiting for consistent water supply, proper roads, reliable power. They continue to get power shutdowns almost every week. In some areas, the water is not running in their taps for days, for hours in a particular day. These are not new problems, they say. They've been there for decades for them. You have been a minister since 2014 and of course an opposition MP since 2022. Why are we still stuck here in this situation in 2025?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for a lot of the infrastructure projects, I'll give an example, for instance, for water. When you know the big problem with water that we have now. The big problem is the non-revenue water, which is the leakage, which is around...
Almost 50%.
Almost 50%. That means that most of the water that you put into the system gets
in
stolen or lost or whatever and disappears. So that's a legacy of the old infrastructure that you have, the old pipes. But when you have water systems, the other problem that we have, which is exacerbated this, is the movement of people away from areas where there's low population density into areas where there's already high population density. So when your population density increases, there's more requests for new infrastructure to go to those people. Then you have the challenge of diverting your resources to deal with the new connections that you need to make, or use it on the old infrastructure that needs to be replaced. That's one of the challenges that you have. Previous government had the challenge to do this. One of the biggest projects that we put in was the Viria water supply. Viria put in 40 million liters per day, so would have enough water to be able to provide this general area from Nosori all the way down to Lami. But it's the distribution of this that has been a challenge. And even now, as you can see, this current government, they're putting another line down from, where's that place, Wela, up that road, Princess Road, to feed the...
Savani coming this way are the higher areas of Tadiwa.
All of those areas you always have. So I think in a lot of cases there is enough water being produced, but it's getting it to the people in terms of the reservoirs, in terms of the pipes and so forth. It's a problem that we were working on. We had made considerable progress in doing that, and this government has to continue doing it. Now, when they were in opposition, they obviously felt that we just come in, bang, 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 and everything will be solved. When they come in, they see the systemic issues that are there, the long-standing issues that have been built over decades, which you cannot change overnight. As a government, when we were in place, we were working on that. We had the plans in place. The 2050 water strategy that they're using now, which is a good strategy, was being developed during the time that I was still a minister. So there's a lot of systemic issues, and there are a lot of competing issues, and there's competition for resources. A lot of times you have to be able to find resources from outside to fund some of the major infrastructure projects that you're doing. But to remember also that during the Bainimarama government era and the FijiFirst, the investment in infrastructure was very high in terms of roads, all of these things. The 4-lane roads, all of these, the water systems, the rural electrification. We removed a lot of the barriers to, people used to pay 10% of the cost of bringing the FEA poles. We removed all that. So when you remove these barriers, of course the demand increases, because what was a barrier for people to get electricity before, having to pay the deposit. Now you remove it, you need to be able to provide the power to everybody. So there's more demand, and the amount of resources that you have is still at the same level. So there's a challenge in all this. So I think government comes to realize, the current government, that it's not as easy as they thought it was going to be. It's a difficult challenge, but once you're sitting there, one of the habits that they always have, they blame us. But they have been in power now for 3 years. You can't keep on looking backwards. You've got to look forward. If you keep looking backwards, you might crash into the trees straight in front of you.
You've been in cabinet before.
Yeah, I have.
When you hear people say Fiji's leaders can make speeches but can't fix water issues, a basic need. It took your government 16 years. Do you think enough was done? We still have pipes leaking, as you confirmed. Almost 50% of the water is going into the ground. Infrastructure is barely keeping up through a band-aid solution when we go to Water Authority of Fiji. We know the Viria project has provided relief to, I think, the Suva-Nosori corridor, no doubt about that. They don't have as many disruptions. Just the magnitude of it. Do you think that Well, couldn't be done in 16 years. How long would it take from your assessment?
I think when they were developing their 2050 strategy, in particular for water, it was looking all this. But in water, it's not just the delivery of water. The other side is the wastewater. There's been a lot of, all of our wastewater places now, the design capacity is like this. What they're doing is like that. So it's much higher than it's supposed to be doing. And that's not a problem that just exists today. But the problems are there, you keep improving, but you see, what are the metrics that you use to measure how well the performance has taken place? In water, the metric should be the percentage of your population that has access to clean water. If that has increased from 60% to 80%, that's an improvement. You get my point, eh?
And what happens to the 20%? You can't
but at least it's improved.
You can't leave anyone behind.
It's improved up to 80%.
I do understand.
And you're not going to change it overnight, just to exactly go to 100%. So I think during the time of the Bainimarama government and FijiFirst, there were substantive improvements in the delivery of that water. It wasn't just Viria. We did the Mau. We took the water across from Obalau to Moturiki. We took across the water across from Vanuatu to Ngalo Island. We took underwater across to what's that other place in Ra, Malaki, electricity under the water. A lot of these investments have taken place in terms of electricity, power, roads, Namboa, Lundraketi, all of these major roads. Subanandi, the road going across to Ndenarau, those back roads, those are huge. And as you deliver more and more service, people's expectation of what they want from government also increases. So I don't think you'll find any government in the world, any government or any country in the world where people are continually 100% satisfied with the infrastructure that they have. It's always going to be a challenge. The challenge for us, I think when we were in government, we made substantive inroads into addressing this. And once you come into government, you need to take it to the next level rather than just sit there and complain about what happened in the past. Your job is to stand on the shoulders of those who were there before you and move it forward.
Water is a basic need of life. And then as I'll go back to that point of infrastructure, in terms of almost, I think it's 46% to 50% of water, which is lost before it reaches the taps. That means the cost of getting water produced and the water reaching the people, already almost half not reaching the people. We haven't been able to fix that, and it's not a quick fix because you cannot just shut down the infrastructure. From your perspective, you've been a Minister for Infrastructure too, what can be done now for people watching or listening out there? What can you tell them? What needs to be done, and by when will this be rectified?
Yeah, you need to have a plan to be able to replace your out-of-date infrastructure. And that's not something that you can do quickly. It'll have to be spaced out over time. It requires funding. Because if you take all your funding and put it into water, what happens to roads, what happens to health, what happens to education? All of these sectors also need money. So running a country is always a balancing act. Sometimes you say, okay, for these few years, we'll put some more emphasis in water, reduce a bit on roads or electricity or some other sectors. And over time, you have to do that. That's why having a long-term strategy like the 2050 strategy that we had begun developing during the time that I was still a minister is the approach that you have. Because you have to balance these long-term things and at the same time, address the small fires that keep popping up every day. All those things, you have to manage both of those sides of the equation.